Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Space Champs podcast. I'm your host, Jim Murphy, and today we welcome back a very special guest, Brad Wasser, from the Space Science and Rocketry Instagram page. Brad, we were just saying before, this is the first time we've ever welcomed a guest back, except for our wonderful co-host, Will Murphy, who hasn't been on in a while. How you doing?
Good. It's awesome to be back.
Yeah, we love it. We love chatting. We love shooting the I'm not really sure if I'm allowed to curse yet on this. I think it's up to me, but I'm not really sure because I want to call it. Yeah, I want to call this shooting the with Brad Wasser, but we'll maybe we'll let it slide for now. But yeah, we were just saying there's not as much to talk about right now, since we covered so much ground on the last one. But there is some good stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff that's been going on, and I guess we can start that off. We'll start it off with a little Crew 2 action.
Yeah, it's a good launch. Everything went fine. I think the computer did everything once again. They didn't even have to do anything on board. The booster landed. Everything went great,
Yeah. See, I'm always torn. For me, I love seeing people go to space, but seeing the booster land still gets me almost more, just because it doesn't seem real.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It was a flown booster, too. It's the same one they used for DM1, and the capsule is the same one from the first mission, or the first test mission. So reuse capsule, reuse booster.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I saw that. That's great. And he said, I know Elon Musk was interviewed, and he said that they're going to use these rockets. They're going to use everything until they see a functional issue with them, essentially.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they're going to keep flying Crew on it or if they're going to use it for cargo. I think that will be up to NASA. Since they're paying for it, but that'll be interesting to see. Originally, they were never going to use the same capsule to fly Crew more than once. So I mean, they might extend it since they already extended it once. We'll see about that. Yeah, the boosters can obviously fly like 10 times. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they've had some that have flown 8 or 9 times. I know that's the most I've heard of.
I think they're up to 7 or 8 now.
Yeah, that's huge.
On one booster. Yeah.
And everything today is all about reusability. I mean, all over the world, but definitely in the space world, that's how you get things done. Each and every, big private space companies coming up with reusable vehicles for either getting cargo into microgravity or getting them to,
except ULA.
Except ULA, except ULA. I always think of them more as they're not as much. I think there's a difference between commercial and private. And the ULA reminds me of they're more like.
I think of them as a military service. They launch stuff for the military and CIA and that type of stuff. Yeah,
exactly. We got them. They're setting up the Delta IV today, right? We were talking about that a little bit, and it's
NRO satellites classified. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know what it is.
Yeah,
I guess I'm glad I don't know everything that's going into space. I probably don't need to know all that.
Yeah.
We did a whole episode on satellites a little while ago, I believe, and the satellites are a hell of a thing. I was actually just doing a little research project on the SR-71 Blackbird, and that thing cost a fortune. Obviously, it was awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
It's one of my favorite friggin' aircrafts of all time. But they were talking about how, in the, it was made in the late 60s, and it was being used for reconnaissance over, in the Cold War and other stuff. But once they started putting up satellites in orbit, they kind of stopped using it, but it was so great. It was so quick. It was so fast that they had to use it in certain parts of the world that satellites couldn't go. So I kind of like that. It was still fighting back and, doing all that stuff.
Yeah. The whole point of it was to be able to outrun missiles.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy.
Mach 3.3 at I think it was 16,000 feet in the air.
Yeah, the pilots were astronauts, technically. I
think, that's
according to the Air Force.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah, well, that's the good stuff. But, ULA, forget it. But that's happening in the next hour. So probably while we're doing this, it's going to go. So that's kind of exciting. Do you watch every launch, or do you only watch
I watch most of them. I watch every SpaceX launch. Every now and then I'll miss an Ariane launch or something like that, but mostly every launch, yeah.
Yeah, see, I wish I was more of a launch guy, but sometimes I don't have the ability. I woke up to see the Crew 2. That was that happened to be I think it was 6:11 in the morning, 5 in the morning or something like that. And I woke up for that because I roll over in bed.
Yeah.
whip it up on the phone and you can see it go off. That's still great. I'll tell you what I definitely can't wait for is the first launch of a Super Heavy. That's
Oh yeah,
what I'm waiting for. That thing
for
is
sure.
beast.
They're starting to stack it down in Texas for the. So I mean, we'll get to see that soon. I wonder how many engines they're going to use on the first test flight. If they're going to go with a full like a 37, or if it's just going to be something scaled back. But it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I don't know because I remember the last time we talked, you said we were talking about the Artemis, the SLS, and then we were talking about the Super Heavy, and somewhere in there we were like 16.4 million pounds of thrust. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, that is an insane amount of thrust because the Saturn V had like 7.8 or 7.6. And I was like, there's no way the SLS is going to have that much. And then I remembered it was the Super Heavy. And it's got double the friggin' thrust as the Saturn. And it's got almost double, or maybe even more.
I believe it's 17 million pounds.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. And I think it's because obviously they're trying to send 100 people in like a single Starship.
Or 100 tons in orbit.
Yeah, or 100 tons, which is crazy. That's like an enormous amount of like weight to be sending into space.
And then with orbital refueling, you could theoretically send that 100 tons to the surface of the moon or Mars. Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's super cool. So I'll definitely be getting up for those. And I know we talked about this before, but I've been trying to find like non-renders of the Super Heavy, kind of just like nice pictures of the big old stack, and I can't do it.
They're kind of hard to find.
Yeah, they are.
There's Boca Chica Gal on Twitter. I don't know if you follow her. Every now and then she'll have some good pictures. Lab Padre was another Twitter account with some good pictures. I think some people will fly drones around the SpaceX facility, which SpaceX doesn't like. They have sides up, and they're always telling people not to, but people still do it, and that's where we get a lot of our pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elon every now and again will tweet something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's very hard to find, but I can't wait for the whole thing to be set up. And it's like a classic, Saturn V. It's huge. The Falcon is great. It's big, but it's not huge. Like this is going to be huge, and I'm super
excited. Massive. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I can't wait to see 37. Are they using the Raptors again?
Yeah, the Raptors. First and second stage.
Yeah, that thing's going to be wild.
How many engines exactly they're using? They've changed it as they've gone along, but it's somewhere in the 30s, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be absolutely something. And is that planning on landing itself or no?
Yeah, they plan on landing that, of course.
That will be crazy.
The whole thing about Starship and Super Heavy is complete reusability.
Standing a building, essentially. I mean, when you land that Super Heavy, that's going to be insane.
Now, Super Heavy should be much easier for them to land than Starship because Super Heavy is sort of like a blown up Falcon 9 booster,
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Starship there, I mean, the next one they're doing is the 15, right?
I believe so, yeah.
They haven't done that yet. I think he said that within the next 2 weeks they were going to try to do that.
They've still yet to land it enough.
Yeah.
Use it again or do anything. They landed once.
They landed one.
A couple minutes later, it didn't look so good. Yeah.
Exactly. That was awesome. That was like kind of cool and also.
Very
and
cool,
the next day, what'd they do? The next day it was super foggy and they just launched the 12.
Yeah, we didn't even see anything.
Yeah, we didn't even see it. All we saw was after
we saw an explosion.
Cleared. Yeah, it burned out. We saw like the soda can. And now I'm thinking, that brings me to the other thing. Like the FFA was all on them because or the government or somebody was telling that the FFA was like unwise to let them launch that day.
Yeah.
So they were kind of in hot water.
I'm not sure why. As a matter of fact, the FFA sent like an agent, I don't know what you call him, but a person to go and inspect the launch site and everything, and he actually couldn't get there the day before, so they had to push it to that foggy day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of their fault they had to launch that day.
Yeah, I don't know. Elon doesn't. I think he was like, whatever, let's just fire it off because we're just gonna go to the SN15 now. Like we're just gonna skip. So let's just go for it. If it works, it works.
I'm curious to see if their development process slows down a little bit now that they've gotten this human landing system contract, and there's a bit more weight on them. I'm sure you already see how the media will cover a lot of these launches. It tends to be sort of disingenuous. So they might slow down a bit on
well,
blowing stuff up.
That's the new news over at SpaceX is the what is it, Human Landing Systems grant. They beat out Dynatech,
everyone,
right? Or Dynetics, or one
Dynetics,
of those.
I think.
And then Blue Origin, they beat out both of them. We talked about this, but I thought Blue Origin was going to get it.
I thought was
going to get it.
I was shocked. Blue Origin and that entire national team. I mean, you also had Lockheed Martin on there, Boeing, Draper, and somebody else, but like all the big aerospace contractors.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously they have huge power with Congress, but somehow SpaceX got picked, which is probably, I don't know if it's good. We'll see. SpaceX is obviously developing the most complex of all of them. But yeah, very surprising that they got picked. And they're the only one that got picked. They didn't do like a half and half thing. SpaceX is getting all $2 billion, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. And
I think it's 1.9 billion, but
yeah, whatever. I'll take the other, point, whatever, 0.1 billion. Yeah. I'll take that. You just send that over to Space Jam. But that's awesome. And I love the renders of like the modified Starship for Lunar Starship. Like those are really cool.
You see the solar panel wrapping?
Yeah, it looks like something from Star Wars.
It does, yeah.
Looks like after episode, what is it? The end of episode 2, like Dooku shows up on Coruscant. And he does the solar sail type deal over her. That's what that reminded me of. So I thought that was really cool. It's such a weird delivery system too. Like the renders, you see them getting on like an elevator at the top of the Starship and like going down to the surface. They're up like, it looks like, 30
several stories. Yeah, very high.
It's going to be crazy. And I know we talked about earlier, the reason you convinced me that it wasn't going to be SpaceX is because of the power that the Starship has and the debris that it could send into orbit around the moon. And that's when I was like, oh my God, it's a great point.
Well, apparently they plan on using I'm not sure if they're Super Dracos, but something like some of the Super Dracos that they currently use on Dragon 2, the launch abort motors. They plan to use those to land. I think it's going to have like 20 of them or something, and they're sort of along the top. And so the Raptors will make the burn to take them out of lunar orbit and down to the surface. But once they get near the surface, they're going to cut off the Raptors and use those Super Dracos up top to finish the landing. So that is a way of them fixing the debris thing without having to build a landing pad before every landing.
That's really cool. We had a guest come on before. I don't know if you listened to that episode, but he actually helped build those Draco engines that do the escape. If on the Dragon, if they're in trouble and everything. So I wonder if he knows anything about that. I wonder if he knew about this going forward. But that's super cool. And those are awesome when they fire. They look really great. It looks like a bullet or something. They look awesome.
Now they use a different fuel than the Raptor, so it'll be interesting to see how they integrate that into the design.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's cool. It's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I still hope in the future that Elon's going to go wherever he wants, regardless of what contract he's getting. He's going to Mars himself. But I hope that Blue Origin and this is inevitable, but I hope Blue Origin and all those other companies get into space and go to the moon themselves, because it would be really cool to see competing, not necessarily competing, but it would be nice to see a bunch of different companies taking people to the moon.
Yeah, and they will. Obviously, Blue Origin has unlimited funding if Jeff Bezos chooses. But NASA has said that they do plan on picking another lander somewhere down the line.
Oh, nice.
The SpaceX is just the first one for the first mission. Yeah.
All right, sweet. That's what I like to hear.
I'm curious about how they refuel the lunar Starship and lunar orbit. They'll have to. I don't know if they'll get it from Earth or if they'll have some type of infrastructure on the moon for refueling. But they want to reuse it, and obviously, if you reuse it, you have to refuel it. So I don't know how they'll do that.
Are you saying how once they get to the moon, how are they going to refuel it to get it off the moon?
Yeah, so once it lands on the moon and then they launch back into orbit to the Lunar Gateway, what are they going to do then to refuel it?
Yeah,
will it come back to Earth orbit or
That's a good point. It's a lot heavier than the old lunar module that they sent back in the Apollo days. It's a lot
Yeah.
bigger. It's a lot heavier. I mean, yeah, that's a great point. I actually don't know. I mean, you wonder when we're going to get to the point where we'll be like in orbit refueling, like we'll have fuel in orbit. I mean, that would be an interesting thing. But
well, here on Earth, it's obviously much easier because you can launch it from here. But on the moon, I mean, you'd have to mine water ice and then, turn
yeah,
that
use it
water
as
ice and then,
propellant.
yeah.
I'm thinking like if they spent some money to carry fuel into a depot in orbit, and then the Starship
Would
you
leave
could have
the
one
lunar
Starship,
gateway.
yeah, one Starship used as like a ferry to the moon and something from orbit or something like that. That seems like, I mean, that's kind of what they're doing with the gateway, with the lunar gateway. I mean, I think they're looking for that transportation, that kind of like a shuttle service.
Now, maybe for the first couple missions, they only plan to use the first lander a time or two, but I'm sure down the line they want to be reusing these and refueling them in lunar orbit.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah, I'll love to see all that happen. That's when, honestly, that's when it's going to get really interesting again. And a couple weeks ago, we talked to someone from the Crew 2 mission. They're part of the commercial crew program and everything. And we asked her a little bit about going the Artemis and stuff. And the commercial crew program doesn't have anything to do with going to the moon or anything like that. So it's going to be totally different.
Totally different, yeah.
So that's exciting that they're still going to have that going on, and maybe they'll be helping each other out. They'll be kind of like
now, NASA funding this lander. They're at the same time they're funding a competitor for a SLS. You know what I mean? They could end up going this. It'd be really cool to see astronauts launch on Starship to the gateway, dock with the gateway, and then get on another Starship to go down to the moon.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So I was doing this project for Air and Space, and one of the things was I'm talking about the SLS. I'm talking about Saturn V because it's the most powerful rocket ever flown. The Russians, the Soviets had that rocket that was more powerful, but they never flew it, so it doesn't count. But then my boss is like, well, the SLS is going to be more powerful, or it is more powerful. I'm like, well, it is, but it hasn't flown yet. So, I mean, I don't count that yet. And then I'd have to change it again because the Super Heavy is way more powerful than that. So it's like, when does it stop? Eventually, you just got to you got to give kudos to history. And then, there's going to be such an acceleration of power and technology going to space now that it's going to be tough to keep up.
For sure, yeah. It'll be interesting to see how Blue Origin and other companies compete with SpaceX and stay relevant. Because, I mean, if SpaceX could really pull off Starship and make it completely and rapidly reusable, and I think they're aiming for $10 a kilogram or something to orbit. If they could really pull that off, I mean, I doubt they form a monopoly with space launch, but I mean, Blue Origin will have to do something.
Yeah.
New Glenn is nice to compete with Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy, but I don't think it can compete with Starship.
Yeah, but how about that for you've been building New Glenn for years now, and you're like, oh, this will be good. We got a competitor, and then you realize that, oh, geez, now we got to deal with Super Heavy. It's that power and the fact that they want to take the key that most people we've ever sent to the moon at once is 3, and that's one's in orbit, 2 are on the ground. He can put 50 people, 100 people in the Starship. If that's what they're, if they can still do it, that's what they say. We'll see. But I think Elon might run into a problem. Where do you can't do it yet because there's no infrastructure anywhere. There's nowhere to put 50 or 100 people anywhere on the moon or anywhere.
There's nowhere to put them. There's nowhere to make the fuel to get them back. So, yeah. I've
seen some really cool stuff on NASA, and also you follow Bo's Planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been doing some really cool, he or she, I'm not really sure. They've been doing some really awesome stuff regarding habitats on Mars and the moon, and they're inflatable kind of situation.
And then the 3D printed on top of it.
Yeah, I've seen that too. And all that's very cool and very creative. And I'd love to see Elon take a bunch of, he doesn't like AI, but I'd love to see him take a bunch of robots to the moon, a bunch of Perseverances to build some habitats for 100 people to live in.
I don't know if he hates AI. I mean, his cars drive themselves.
Well, that's true. I mean? That's true.
Yeah.
He's wary. He's wary.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big Skynet guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that's a great question. Okay, so there's the Matrix, and there's Skynet.
Right.
Which universe would you rather be trapped in?
Now, Skynet is Terminator, right?
Yeah, that's Terminator.
Okay. Probably that one. At least it's real. You know what I mean? The Matrix isn't. Yeah.
Well, no, the Matrix. The Matrix is real. It's just you got to get out of the Matrix and then you're in the real world. But that world sucks. Except they're having like raves down in Zion. Like people are just jumping around, getting sweaty. So that's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the other world, the Skynet Earth, that one's kind of an apocalypse. I think they're both bad. But I don't want to live on the ground. So I think I'm going to go with Skynet Terminator world as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be my world. Yeah, that's classic. What else do we got? Oh, we got Ingenuity.
Oh, yeah. Totally forgot about that. 2 flights now, maybe 3. I'm not sure if they flew today.
Yeah, I know we did. I know there's definitely 2. Mm-hmm. But how about that first flight? The first images of that flight were, I think some people, I was showing some people and nobody cares. Like most people don't care. Like we care, I suppose. But I was like, check this out. And it looks like Ingenuity. You can't even tell it's flying if you don't watch the video because it's gray, it's black and white and everything. And I'm like, you don't know how amazing this is. Like we have the first powered flight, like honestly, like 100 years, a little over 100 years on a different planet after we had the first powered flight on the Earth. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. Now people are saying that technically it's not the first powered flight because technically that sky crane that was used to land the rover was first powered flight. But
I love the sky crane.
Yeah. But that's a bit technical. I think Ingenuity's the first controlled and powered flight.
Nice.
Ever.
Yeah. All right. I like it. But even then, it's even more impressive because then we've done it sooner. The sky crane's done it sooner.
That's a good point.
I like the idea that it landed because the sky crane, once it drops off, the rover just like flies away and crashes. Yeah. So I think Ingenuity, the idea that we land, we take off and we land again, that says that means a lot. So I'm going to go with Ingenuity. But that was big stuff.
Yeah, and they didn't go that high up. I think they only went about 15 or 20 feet and did a little translation across the surface and landed in another spot. Obviously, in the future, they want to go a bit higher and farther. They want to be able to map out Perseverance's route along the surface. Yeah. Yeah,
that's like a nice little scout.
Did you see the pictures from Perseverance of Ingenuity taking off?
Yeah,
that's very cool. They made it look like a little video.
Yeah, those were amazing. Yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah.
The thing I don't understand is the actual physics of how it works. So, Ingenuity's got 2 propellers, but there's not a lot of atmosphere. It's like 1% of Earth's atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And how does like the airfoil happen? How do they get the thrust, the lift? How do they make that all happen? That's what I don't understand without the atmosphere.
Yeah, Ingenuity's really, really light. I forget how much it weighs, but it's only a few pounds, and those propellers are spinning very fast.
They have to be.
Hundreds of our repetitions like a second. So that generates enough lift to get up. And also they're pretty low in Mars. They're actually in a crater, if you remember.
Yeah.
So they're quite low. So the atmosphere's a bit thicker down there than it would be, say, where Curiosity is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff, that's the kind of stuff that I think about, and I'm like, I don't really know how that works. And so I kind of like that. And I know that there's something with the 2 propellers. There's something about that creates more of a, a pocket or something in there. I'm not great with
I think they spin opposite directions too.
Yeah. Not great with my flight physics, but I know there's something to do with that. But anyway, that was great. And everyone knows, I think we talked about this before, but it had a little piece of the Wright brothers' first flyer on it.
Yeah,
so that was the first powered flight on Earth that went to the moon. I'm sorry. It did go to the moon, but more recently it was on Ingenuity.
Is it the same piece that went to the moon? I don't think so. I imagine that's probably at a museum.
Yeah. That's probably at Air and Space, honestly. I should probably know that. No, yeah, it is at Air and Space. It is at Air and Space. Yeah. So
Did that fly on Apollo 11?
yes.
Okay. Did
Yeah.
it land on the moon with Armstrong and Aldrin?
Yeah, it did.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, so that is cool. Yeah, I'm like 99% sure it went with Neil Armstrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either that or Apollo 8. It had to be one of those two.
Yeah. But it was pretty fantastic. Yes, I love that little history bit, and I like that they did all that.
Yeah.
So that was awesome too. Oh, another news, we got the SLS. We're kind of jumping here, but clap for ingenuity. Clap for ingenuity. But then we got everybody's moving SLS. I know we were kind of crapping on it a little bit before, but everyone's moving it to Cape Canaveral. They're moving from the Stennis Center in what are you? Wait, where is the Stennis Center?
I think it's in Mississippi.
Okay, I was about to ask if you're kind of close to that. I thought it was in Missouri, but I guess it's
no other M state.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're moving her down the river and they're taking her over to Cape Canaveral, I believe.
Down the Mississippi, over through the Gulf to Cape Canaveral. Yeah.
Nice. I still love seeing a nice, good old fashioned NASA rocket. I'm excited.
It'll be nice to see.
Yeah, I'm excited for them to get all that together.
I wish we didn't have to, kill the RS-25s and just throw them in the ocean.
Yeah, well, that's kind of, it's kind of a bummer because it already makes the SLS a little more obsolete than
for sure.
Even the Falcon or the Super Heavy, which hasn't even flown yet. And I know you were telling me those are the same boosters that were used with the shuttle. Like those were part of the first stage shuttle launch.
You talking about the solids or the RS-25 engines?
The RS-25s, are they?
Yeah.
The thinner ones.
The thinner ones. What do you mean? The ones on the side?
Yeah, the ones on the side.
Yeah, those are the solid rocket boosters. Yeah, they're not the same hardware, but they're the same technology, but a bit bigger. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, so that's kind of a shame. But so like they don't even collect those?
No, I mean on the space shuttle flights they would land them with parachutes in the ocean, but they're just gonna fall in the ocean and sink now. And same with the core stage with those with the RS-25s, which those actually flew on space shuttles. I forget which ones. I think Discovery and one of the other ones, but now they're just gonna fall into the ocean after flying.
See, that doesn't even make sense anymore.
No, I don't think it does.
It's like opening up a coal factory. It just doesn't make sense.
The engines are made to be reusable too. I mean, they were designed for reusability in the 80s. So why in the 2020s are we throwing them away? I don't know.
That seems like a huge waste of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
put them in a museum. You can send them all over the world, put them in different museums.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
They're so big. They're nice to look at. I mean, I love that stuff. Like the garden, the rocket garden at the Kennedy Space Center. I love walking through there, and it's like you're looking at history and you're looking at spaceflight. That's what I want to see. I don't know. Well, that'll be interesting. That's kind of upsetting.
Yeah.
Maybe. Didn't SpaceX just retire its retrieval ships?
Yeah, for the fairings.
Yeah,
I forget what their names are.
Yeah, I forget their names too. But
the big nets.
Yeah, the big nets, and they kind of worked. I think they worked like 30% of the time.
Yeah, most of them they just fished out of the ocean, but they caught a couple.
Yeah, so that I understand why you retire them. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I did like their send off. It was kind of fun, and I kind of like the idea too. And how much could it have cost to just put a big old net on a huge, cargo ship? Let's go for it.
And I believe those fairings cost $10 million. So each one they recovered, they were saving $10 million on a flight. So that's, helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that might be more difficult for the SLS. So how many of those like boosters are going to fall off the SLS? Is it 2 or 4 or?
Well, it's the engines on the core stage.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So it'll be 4 on each flight. Yeah.
I can't believe they're getting rid of engines like that.
Yeah, it's sad. They have designed a Aerojet Rocketdyne is who makes them. They've designed a new version that's cheaper and not made to be reused. So, in the future, it won't be as expensive. But right now, you're throwing away. Each launch is $2 billion of the SLS, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I think, especially with engines, we can definitely reuse engines. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they could try like what ULA plans to do with Vulcan, where they recover the propulsion element with the engines. I mean, the engines are like 90% of the cost of the stage, so I mean, it'd be worth trying.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
I guess maybe they know what they're doing. You know.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not an expert, so.
Maybe they just want to spend money.
Maybe they just want to spend our money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's the case. But in other news, I know we were talking before. We were saying that, you know, most of, except for ULA, most of the other private commercial space companies have come up with reusable stuff. And Blue Origin has had a success there, where a couple weeks ago, I think it was the 14th or something, April 14th, Blue Origin had its successful dress rehearsal for its new Shepard.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they were launching it off, but before the launch, they had people get strapped in, but then they took them out because they were just doing a dress rehearsal. I was like, you're already in there, just go, just get a free ride.
Once they took them out, too, there was some wind. So they didn't launch for like 2 more hours.
Yeah.
So it wasn't exactly realistic, but
yeah,
I guess it's good practice.
It's good practice. So they're on their way to sending people to microgravity for like commercial space flight. And that would be kind of cool.
And they've already sent payloads.
Yeah, they've been sending payloads and stuff. I know that. And I think, what was it? It was Virgin that was doing for Valentine's Day. You could send up like a love letter, I think, and it would go to space, and it would like the love letter been to space or something. They send it to the person you wanted to go to, but
interesting.
That was kind of fun. But someone was talking about which of the companies you would want to go on a flight on to space. And honestly, I love me some Virgin Galactic because they've been doing it, but their ride does look scary.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't like roller coasters, but it looks scary. The Blue Origin does not look scary to me.
Nah.
You know, you go up, you're on a bomb, essentially, a controlled bomb. But then you get up there, the capsule separates, you kind of float in space for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then you fall, but then you parachute down, and then there's a little air burst at the very end that lightens the impact as you land in the desert in Texas. But I think, honestly, that one looks like the most comfortable ride.
Definitely. And they have the launch escape system in case something goes wrong with the booster. Virgin Galactic doesn't have anything.
Yeah, but their new Starship looks awesome. So
yeah, I guess.
I'm all good with that. Did we talk about that when that debuted?
No, I don't think we did.
Oh, dude, the Imagine looks great.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I saw it. I don't know. The planes just look kind of weird to me.
Really?
The space planes, yeah.
I like it.
It's not bad. We'll see what they do with it. I don't know why anyone would want to fly on that instead of Blue Origin. The Blue Origin capsule, the inside, it's more spacious too. The plane has like no space. Have you seen the interior?
Yeah, I have seen the interior. I thought it looks all right.
So it's okay.
The old ones are a little not there. They don't have any room, but the new one I thought was it was very SpaceX-y. It was very like Dragon-y to me. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to go wherever anyone let me go up. I'll take the heat. I'll take the scariness if it can get me up there. I like the planes. I think they're cool. And I like the fact that, they're using the old Spaceship One X Prize, design. I think that's cool too. So I kind of like that part of it.
Now, does a person fly does a person fly the plane, or is it a computer flying it?
No, there's 2 pilots. You get 2 astronauts flying the plane.
Okay. I don't know if that's good or bad.
I think, well,
it opens up for human error.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It does look a little scary, but maybe it'll get less scary by the time we are able to go up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll see. But the human error thing makes me think of today or yesterday, Elon Musk was in an interview and he was saying like, people are going to die on Mars. He's like, that's going to happen. It's exploration. And I was like, of course.
Mm-hmm. I didn't hear that, but I've seen the headlines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he really say that?
Yeah, he said like there's like it's like dangerous. Like it's hard to live there. It's like people are gonna die, and I don't think that should be a shock to anyone because whenever anyone has explored on Earth, you know, there's always been you have to face like not only like the natural habitat you're entering in, but everything else you got to deal with, and there's no air there. There's nothing. There's no water. Like there's so many more challenges. It would be insane if we weren't going to die.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they could do it and minimize death. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not saying we're not going to minimize death, but there will be death. Like the, you know.
Maybe nobody died on the Apollo. Well, Apollo 1, but nobody died on the moon.
Good old Gus, good old Ed White, and Ed White. Who was the third?
Oh no, I don't know. Gus, Ed White, Grisham? No, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't remember the third either.
Yeah.
But yes, so the Apollo didn't, and then 13 was close.
Very close, yeah.
But I think just the fact, I don't think in transit to Mars there will be deaths. I think just living on Mars there could be deaths because that's very uncertain.
It was Grisham, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Roger, I'm sorry we forgot about you, babe. Yeah, that one's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what it takes to live. I know I asked you this question before. We'll go into it. So it's gonna take some inventing to not die on Mars. You know, we get the Moxie on Perseverance right now, pulling oxygen out of the air or trying to make oxygen, things like that. It's gonna take some inventions. And now that I think about it, that might be one of the greatest inventions of all time. But
maybe.
What do you think are like the top 5 best inventions of all time for human beings?
Man, that's so hard. I mean, you could go back so long. You could say fire. You could say agriculture. I think agriculture probably has to be there.
All right, nice.
Not necessarily in order, but like flight, including space flight, electricity. I think you have to put the internet in there. I mean, it opens up. It gives everybody access to like all the information ever.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I don't know. I want to say the International Space Station because all the medical science has been done, but I feel like that kind of goes along with space flight. Maybe like nuclear fission, nuclear energy.
Yeah, I don't think honestly we haven't perfected that yet. We haven't done that really. Yet. That's what I would say for that one. But mine, so in order is mine. First of all, fire. I'm not gonna count.
I could see that, yeah.
Because there's always been like fires, I guess. But I will count electricity for like because we've like dominated electricity. Like we use it all the time. It's everywhere. I just don't think fire because there's natural fire and there is natural electricity, but I don't know. I don't love that one. But there's definitely a case for fire. There's definitely a case there.
What about agriculture?
Oh, agriculture was mine. Yeah. That's my third.
Okay.
So for me, my friend convinced me. Number 1 is the wheel.
Okay.
I'm going all the way back, baby.
Okay. I guess I can see that.
The wheel is my number 1. Number 2 is electricity.
Okay.
3 is agriculture. 4 is going to be the plane, the first plane. I'm going that. That's my 4th. And then 5, I'm kind of give or take, but I'm thinking like penicillin.
Okay, that's not a bad one.
That's what I'm going.
Not the internet.
See, you brought up the internet, and that's a great one. Now that you're making me rethink a little bit. So essentially, it's just access to information.
All the information ever, pretty much.
So
yeah,
I would think maybe like Gutenberg's press then, like maybe all the way back because that was like the original access. That's the original internet.
Now
the internet is just access to information. Maybe it's just Goody, over the internet, but the internet did it better. I mean, it's the, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Now, the printing press was originally invented in Korea.
Oh,
Gutenberg. Yeah, Gutenberg just made a kind of a newer version and introduced it to the West in Europe. Yeah.
So that's the other thing we were talking about. We were talking about like gunpowder and like cannons coming from China. And I was like, well, I think if we're like thinking about like military history,
Yeah,
inventions and stuff like that, it'd be like the bow and arrow, like change the game.
for sure. Yeah,
But then we got, comes with the powder and everything come from China. But I believe the British came up with guns.
yeah, I don't know who made guns.
I'm pretty
I know
sure it was
that
the British.
I know the Chinese were the first to use powder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think they used it to propel arrows and like fireworks and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, they had an arrow propulsion system, kind of like a mini rocket, honestly.
That's awesome. So like a mini RPG.
Mm-hmm. And I believe the Indians also use that. Obviously, India's not far from China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So give me, you gave me a little toot when I said the wheel. I want to hear the argument. I want to hear why not the wheel.
I guess it's not a bad one. I just think it's I don't know, how hard was that to invent? I wonder.
I don't know if it's about how hard. I think it's about how much does it affect your life. You know, my other one is that I put like top 10
mm-hmm.
Cups.
Like really?
Things that carry things.
What about this cup?
That's not it though. But like, you're carrying gallons of water back from the river because you got a pot. Like the people that made stuff that hold stuff,
mm-hmm.
hear it for them.
Pottery.
Yeah, they're in my. That's in my top 10.
That's not bad. Yeah. Obviously, you need pottery for agriculture too. So I mean, I guess I kind of have to respect that one.
You need stuff that holds stuff in space because I can't. I want to say the S word so bad, but things just fly away. I don't know, man. That's why it's in my top 10.
Mm-hmm.
But I did like agriculture. Definitely, I said agriculture. The whole agricultural revolution. You could argue the agricultural revolution led to the ISS. I'd like to write a paper on that.
I don't think there's really any question about that. Yeah.
No, but I've been thinking about this all week long.
Mm-hmm. Could hunter-gatherers go to space? I don't know.
No, they
probably not. Probably not.
There's been like a bunch of studies, and I've read a couple of papers and newsletters and stuff with Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson about like how hunters and gatherers were like generally happier than we are.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, they're like happier than we are.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I guess that doesn't surprise me. I mean, your life is just looking for food, kind of. I mean, it's not like, I don't know if the word is easier, but it's just
simpler.
It's simpler maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they were happier, but they weren't going to Mars.
No.
And they weren't advancing the population as much as they could, which is the goal of every species.
Pretty much, yeah.
Unfortunately, we've, maybe we're doing some damage and we got to hold back on that a little bit. But we're trying to leave. We're trying to leave. So we're trying to get some people out of here. Yeah, but I thought the inventions thing's hilarious.
That's a good one. It's a good question.
That's a good question. Yeah. Yep. So that's classic stuff. Oh, man. So we got plenty of space coming in the future as well. And I'm still thinking about the Inspiration 4 has put its whole team together now, and they're setting to play. They're setting, what is it, for an October?
Yeah, later this year, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
James Webb is set for Halloween launch date.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that before, too. That's great.
Yeah. That'll probably be the biggest launch this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been looking into the James Webb a little bit more because we've been talking about it at the museum a little bit because we're doing a bunch of Hubble stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the James Webb is like a really spectacular I guess it's a satellite. I mean, I don't know what else to call it. Camera. I mean, it's essentially a camera, a big old telescope. Yeah. But the infrared and everything is going to be able to show us like so much more. Going to be able to look at like black holes and stuff. It'll be really cool.
Exoplanets.
Oh yeah, yeah. They've been doing a bunch of research on exoplanets and stuff, like trying to look into like the surface of exoplanets because they haven't really been able to do that before. And so that's something they're really excited about with the James Webb Telescope. But it's great.
Now, have you heard anything about the WWISE telescope?
No.
NASA's been for years talking about building it. It's supposed to be their next big telescope, but it would be for exoplanets. And I forget what happened. Congress took away funding for it, but then they gave it back. So it's kind of up in the air. But they probably wouldn't launch for like 10 years, anyways.
Huh.
But that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool too. I've heard about them considering making a new like radio telescope, like an Arecibo, on the moon, like using a crater. I think you might have told me about that, but that's a cool thing too.
Yeah, building it on the far side of the moon. Obviously, Earth's kind of loud when it comes to radio waves. So the far side of the moon would quiet the Earth radio waves, and you can focus on the space ones, the intergalactic ones.
Yeah. Then I think tonight we do have some moon news tonight. I know where I am. We got the pink supermoon. So that's
a supermoon tonight.
It's the pink supermoon. I believe the pink supermoon is the first full moon of the pink moon is the first full moon of spring.
Okay.
And
why is it pink? Is it like a lunar eclipse
type thing? Pink. They call it pink but it's not actually pink. But I think it's called pink because of like the growth, like spring and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I could be wrong about that. And then the supermoon just means it's like one of the biggest moons of the year.
So I didn't know that was tonight. That's cool.
Yeah, no, it's tonight. So very exciting. It's either today or tomorrow. Let me rephrase that, but I believe it's tonight. So yeah, that'll be good too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're kind of running out of time here. Any more updates for us?
Not off the top of my head. The Delta IV just launched, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Looks to be good. And I think that's it for right now.
That's all I got. Yeah. Well, we have been Brad and Jim today, and follow us on Instagram, both at Space Science Rocketry and at Space Chams. Please feel free to leave a nice like on everybody's posts and follow us and do some good stuff like that. Always remember that, we appreciate those likes and follows. Tell us about your friends. Tell your dog about us and everything. So that's good. Brad, it's been an absolute pleasure having you back on for the first recurring guest we've ever had.
It's been great being here. I'm honored.
And we'll have you back on, I'm sure, in a couple of weeks or a month or two, just for another update on what's going on in the world. Maybe we'll have some new invention conversations going on. Everybody out there, remember to keep looking up.